Okay, so now we're ready to start talking about methods. And really the simplest definition I can give you of a method is a piece of code that does something, or a block of code that does something. What does it do? Whatever you want it to do. Okay. So for example, I'm looking at the BMI, the Body Mass Index program, which we've seen several times in this class. And here's an example of a method. That's a block of code that does something. This block of code closes the form. This is a special kind of method in that it's an event handler method, and it's tied to an event, in this case the exit button being clicked. So, but in any case, it's a method. So you're really no stranger to methods. You've been dealing with methods since your very first program in this class. Those are event handler methods, but still methods nevertheless. And so tonight we'll be looking at other kinds of methods that are not tied to events, and how we can write those. And really the whole point is to modularize your program, or break your program up into smaller parts, smaller, more manageable chunks, as opposed to just having this, big mess of code that is, just kind of all there in the one file and not, broken down like these types of programs are. So, yeah, so let's, I'm going to switch gears. We're going to begin with a console application, just to try to zero in on this concept of methods. So one thing I'll point out is we do have our main method, and I know we don't do a lot of console applications in this class, but every console application has this main method. Again, it's a block of code contained by curly braces that has a job to do. Now in the case of the main method, this is the method that kind of drives the whole program when you're dealing with a console application. So this thing here, I don't want you to get too hung up on that. It's just this little thing we have to do when we're doing methods with a console application. Let's not pay too much attention to that just now. This will make more sense in the coming weeks when we dive more into object-oriented programming. But in any case, so let's say we want to write a method that has a very simple job to do. The method is going to print a yellow smiley face, okay? So what I'm going to do is you're always going to start with the return type. And for now, I want you to just take it on faith. For now, you're going to type void. Void meaning nothing. This method is not going to return anything, okay? And then you have to come up with a name for your method, and you want to make it descriptive. I always choose an action word that describes the method's job, like for example, PrintSmiley. And then we have to include these parentheses. Now we're not using them in this example, but these are going to be important in later examples when we talk about methods. Okay, so then I'll throw down the curly braces. And then in the body, so that's like the header of the method. And this is the body of the method, and the body of the method just contains the code that you want to, whatever you're trying to accomplish. In this case, we're going to print a yellow smiley. So I already have that code. I'm going to paste it in, setting the foreground to yellow. This is the code to print the smiley. So now that we have this nice method in place, we're going to call the method. And when you're calling the method, you're saying, hey, you, run your code. Hey, you, print smiley, I'm ready, run your code, print that smiley. So we're going to do that from main. Again, main is like the driver of the program. If you think of an orchestra, the orchestra has all these different sections, like the string section, the percussion section, then the horns in another section. I don't know anything about music, but you get the idea. And the conductor is kind of in control of, which sections are playing at any given time. So you think of the main method as the conductor of the orchestra, okay? And then your program is divided up into sections like the orchestra. So in this section, we have the PrintSmiley code. And so now in main, we're going to call that method. And you would just, now in this case, we have this weird little thing. We're going to use this P to call that method, P dot PrintSmiley, okay? So that's like, hey, you, run your code. Calling the method. So first you're going to define the method or type it out, and then you're going to call the method. Let's run that. Okay, you can see there's my smiley face. Let's do another one. Let's do a print heart. We're going to print a red heart. Okay, so we are going to begin with the return type. Again, take this on faith for now. Let's just go with void, meaning nothing for now. Eventually, we are going to look at methods that return values or give something back, but not yet. And then why don't we call this one PrintHeart? Okay, again, parentheses, empty for the time being. That's not always going to be the case for us, but for now, yes, we'll ignore those for now. And then I have the code to print the heart and, you know, make the console red, the console text red. So there's my PrintHeart method. Okay, and so now I went to all the trouble to code that method. Why don't I call the method, hey you, run your code? I'm going to do that from main here. So p.printheart, then the control of the program is transferred to the PrintHeart method, and I'm going to get the heart. While we're at it, let's do a third method, which will be PrintShamrock. So we're going to do a green shamrock. So again, starting with the return type, void for now, let's call the method PrintShamrock. Okay, empty parentheses for now. I have the code already typed out. I'm going to paste it in. So we're setting the color to green and printing the shamrock using this Unicode character. I just looked these up on the internet somewhere, these Unicode characters. That's, you know, that's not important here. And okay, so I went to all the trouble. Let's call that PrintShamrock method. Okay, now I'll run the program. Now I will see all three characters. All three methods are called one right after another. PrintSmiley, we get the smiley. PrintHeart, we get the heart, and then finally the shamrock. And you may be thinking, okay, what was the point of that? We could have accomplished that in way less code by just printing the characters from the main method. And that is true in this case. But our program is more it's just better constructed. It's more modular, and it's broken up into pieces. And I mean, in a program like this, we didn't gain much. But if we're talking about an actual software program that has millions of lines of code, you have to organize it in some way. And methods are like the first building blocks to accomplish that type of organization, that, you know, modular programming. You have to think, and, you know, in our class, our programs are relatively small, but real life software can be millions of lines of code. It's written by teams of people, many people. Some people are working on this part, other people are working on a different part, and then, you know, eventually there comes a time when all those parts are put together like a puzzle or like the sections of an orchestra and work together into this, you know, huge, sophisticated software program with all these different moving parts. So really, we need to start thinking about structuring our programs in like smaller chunks that are just more, you know, obviously more manageable.